Clash Royale has 21 legendary cards, and today we're going to be ranking every single one of them from worst to best. I'll be breaking down which ones are actually worth leveling up, which ones are traps, which legendary evos are dominating the meta, and how you should use each one of them for maximum value. If you've been struggling on ladder and upgrading the wrong cards, or just confused why certain decks hard counter you, this video will save you hours of pain. Coming in at number 21, we got the Goblin machine. On paper it sounds cool, a tanky goblin on the ground with a rocket launcher on its back that fires high damage shots from range. But believe me, he was so broken a few seasons ago, but after the strong nerf by Clash Royale, the hit speed and the first attack delay make him feel extremely clunky, and his usage rate has completely plummeted. It feels like he costs a lot of elixir for what is basically a mini tank plus an awkward long range weapon that has a blind spot. If you look at the top decks on Path of Legends data on Royale API, the Goblin machine basically doesn't exist in high level meta decks. Even the community describes him as a pretty mediocre card compared to the other legendaries after the balance update. Pro tip, if you insist on playing the Goblin machine, drop it deep on defense so that the rocket can safely chip away, and pair it up on counterattack with the heavier unit like the Goblin Giant, Golem, or even the Giant Skeleton to get value. Coming in at number 20, we got the Night Witch. She spawns bats and swings in melee, and she used to be a staple Golem support card, especially in the older beatdown metas. But the issue right now is the amount of splash in the game. Firecracker, Valkyrie, Executioner, Poison, Arrows, and all the other splash evos just delete her bats before they even do anything. She's also quite weak, which makes her die before her value really kicks in, especially to spells and splash when you try to build a big push with her. If you check the modern day Golem or other beatdown decks on Royale API, she shows up way less in cards like the Baby Dragon, Lumberjack, or even more flexible support options like the Witch Evo or even the Inferno Dragon Evo. She's not unplayable, but she's very matchup dependent and only fits in a narrow set of decks right now. That's why she's this low. Strong in the right deck and matchup, but inconsistent in a meta full of cheap splash and swarm units. Pro tip, always drop the Night Witch behind your King Tower at the start of a Golem push so she can stack extra bats on the way up. Never just throw her at the bridge to defend, where splash and spell cards can instantly raise her value. Coming in at number 19, we got the Bandit. The Bandit is still a good card. She dashes, she can outplay single target units, and she fits the bridge spam archetype really well. But the fact of the matter is, she's heavily overshadowed by the Boss Bandit, the champion version, and by other bridge spam cards like the Royal Ghost and the Battle Ram in most high level decks. If you check the popular P.E.K.K.A bridge spam or other bridge spam decks which are popular on Royale API, the Bandit is there, but she's often losing her spot to the Royal Ghost or the Boss Bandit more often than not. Her main value is punishing overcommitment and cleaning up on defense, not hard carrying on offense like your win condition. In the current meta, she's decent but not broken. She's useful if you're specifically running a classic bridge spam deck, but you can't just slap her into every archetype and expect insane value like the other legendaries which are ranked higher up. Pro tip, use the Bandit primarily as a counter push threat. Defend with her near your tower so she survives with HP, and then let her dash into the lane your opponent is weakest in, instead of just randomly spamming her aggressively at the bridge. Coming in at number 18, we got the Phoenix. This card had a period where it felt like it was absolutely everywhere, but nowadays it's rarely seen in any top ladder decks compared to the other options out there. The egg mechanic can be powerful, but people have gotten very good at denying the revival by placing ranged units or spells on the egg to stop it from respawning. At 4 elixir, it competes with cards like the Baby Dragon and the Inferno Dragon, and in most meta decks, those options simply offer way more reliable value. Right now, the Phoenix is more of a flexible pick than a core threat or a must-include support card. It can still shine in some beatdown decks or in some surprise off-meta deck, but it's simply not as good as the Baby Dragon, minions, and the other flying options out there. Pro tip, when you play the Phoenix, position it slightly behind a tank like the Mega Knight or the Lava Hound so that even if it dies, the egg revives behind your own units, forcing your opponent to spend more elixir to defend, giving you an opening. Coming in at number 17, we got the Princess. The Princess is one of the OG legendaries, and she has a defined role: long range chip and constant lane pressure. But the only problem with the Princess is she's basically locked into classic lockbait style decks, and outside of that archetype, her low HP and reliance on only spell bait decks makes her a much less attractive option. She dies to a huge range of cheap spells like the Log, Fireball, and Arrows, which makes her a risky investment if you're you're not constantly getting value with her with good bait outplays. When you look at modern popular decks on Royale API, you'll see far more Ghost, Skeleton Barrel, and Dark Goblin than the Princess, showing how niche she's become. She's still super annoying and strong in the right hands, but her lack of versatility in the current meta is what pushes her down the list. Pro tip, always place the Princess to the opposite lane to the lane you're attacking. This forces your opponent to spend elixir in both lanes, and this will make their push a lot more weaker because this pretty much sets up a great counter push chance for you. Coming in at number 16, we got the Ram Rider. The Ram Rider is a unique card because she's both the win condition and a control card. The Ram Rider charges buildings while her lasso slows and snipes units. She shows up in some high level decks, especially paired with the Mega Knight Evo and the Inferno Dragon Evo for some heavy pressure and control sequences. You'll also see her being used in a lot of Brit spam decks where she's absolutely cracked in. But in the current meta, there are simply more efficient and flexible win conditions like the Miner, Lava Hound, and the Royal Giant that are a lot easier to build around. She can work well in Brit spam decks, but again, she's still a more specialized pick that fits best into hybrid decks compared to the other traditional win conditions. That's why she sits in the mid-low section of this ranking. She's good and dangerous if you can fit her into the right decks. Pro tip, start using the Ram Rider on defense as well. Drop her down on defense so she can snare and slow down enemy hogs, Ram Rider, or even balloons. This essentially lets her walk up the lane and turn that defensive sequence into an immediate counterattack. Coming in at number 15, we got the Spirit Empress. She's a newer legendary card and the first real 2-form card, switching between an air form and a cheaper ground form depending on elixir. On paper, she's super flexible with high damage and solid stats, and there are some decent decks built around her like Minor Poison Cycle, Motor Control, and Lava or Golem Beatdown variants. But at a relatively high cost, when used in her stronger form, she can feel clunky, especially if you mistime her placement. Her usage rate is still on the lower side, but she has a lot of potential after the buff she received recently. She sits here because she's strong but not yet meta defining, and her skill and timing requirements are pretty high. Pro tip, use the Spirit Empress mostly as a counter push support and defend with your cheaper form, and then time her stronger form behind a surviving tank or mini tank so you can convert your defense into a brutal push on offense. Coming in at number 14, we got the Mother Witch. She's an extremely matchup dependent card, and up against swarm decks, she feels absolutely broken, constantly spawning pigs and turning your opponent's skeletons and goblins into a free offense. But versus decks with a few small troops, she's basically an overpriced, low damage support unit that doesn't offer enough raw DPS or control. Her design is clearly built around punishing spam and low HP units, and that's exactly when she spikes in value. Right now, the meta has a mix of swarm and heavy cards, so she's viable but not really universally dominant, and that is exactly why she falls into the middle of this list. Amazing versus the right deck and underwhelming versus the wrong one. Pro tip, hold the Mother Witch until you see at least one swarm card, then place her slightly off to the side of your tower so she stays safe while continuously generating pigs from the spam. Coming in at number 13, we got the Magic Archer. The Magic Archer is a pure skill card if you line up your angles correctly, and he pierces through troops and tags the tower for some insane chip damage. He's a core piece in P.E.K.K.A. Brit spam and many other minor control decks where players focus on building their pushes around forcing those perfect lineups. The reason he's not higher on this list is that he's inconsistent for most players as the skill ceiling is pretty high. In the current meta, he's decent but not on the same level as the higher ranked cards on this list. Pro tip, always try to place the Magic Archer at an angle, not straight across. Think of his shot as a line you're trying to draw on their troop and their tower, and only play him when you can get at least some value or potential chip damage through lineups. Coming in at number 12, we got the E-Wiz. The E-Wiz is still a card that holds extremely well defensively even years after his release. He's one of the few troops in the game that deals damage the moment he spawns thanks to his zap landing effect. This alone makes him a natural counter to the Inferno Dragon, Sparky, and building locking threats like the Balram or the Ram Rider. In the current meta, we don't see him in every top deck, but he's still present in several mid-ladder and competitive control decks, especially ones like Brit spam where stun and reset mechanics matter a lot. His biggest issue is that he doesn't scale offensively, and he's more of a defensive stabilizer, which is why he isn't higher on this list. Pro tip, drop the E-Wiz directly onto enemy troops not far away. His spawn zap denies key hits, resets cards instantly, and often turns what looks like a losing defense into a clean positive elixir trade. Coming in at number 11, we got the Sparky, and honestly, she's one of the weirdest but most dangerous cards in Clash Royale. Believe it or not, the Sparky has the single highest burst damage of any troop in the entire game, meaning if she connects even once, you lose half your tower. In the current meta right now, the Sparky absolutely thrives, with Fireball not killing her, smaller spells like the login arrows doing nothing, and Rocket being used less often. She survives way more pushes than she used to. On Royale API, Sparky decks like Giant Sparky and Goblin Giant Sparky still show up in mid-ladder and competitive play because she forces your opponent to use her biggest spell perfectly, and if they mistime it even slightly, she punishes them instantly. The Sparky also works amazing to spell bait, and she draws lightning or fireball so that cards like the Mother Witch, Musketeer, or even the Ewiz gets free value. She isn't higher up because she can be inconsistent in fast cycle matchups and she struggles against high DPS or high pressure control decks, but when the Sparky gets going, she's a complete game changer. Pro tip: always protect the Sparky with a cheap distraction card like the Ice Spirit or Guards, and try to bait their spells out with your other bait cards in your deck. The entire point is to force the opponent's spell early so that the Sparky can charge and delete everything in that lane. Coming in at number 10, we got the Fisherman. This card is absolutely cracked when used correctly, especially in Royal Giant decks. The Fisherman's anchor ability pulls troops into new placements, and this mechanic creates automatic King Tower activation, which is one of the strongest defensive advantages in the entire game. Once your King Tower is activated early, you can defend with half the effort, and the Fisherman is the easiest and most reliable way to trigger it. On Royale API, nearly every top performing RG deck runs the Fisherman because he turns what should be a dangerous push into an effortless defense. He pulls tanks off the lane, he drags melee troops into the middle, and he even yanks win conditions like the Hog or the Battle Ram directly to your King Tower if placed correctly. The Fisherman is literally a defensive cheat code. The only reason he isn't higher on this list because he isn't used much outside of RG decks and his value becomes a bit more niche, but inside the decks he belongs in, he's absolutely essential and one of the most manipulative defensive cards in the entire game. Pro tip: master the Fisherman King Tower activation tiles. If you place him one tile above and one tile to the left or the right of your King Tower, he will consistently pull Hog Riders, Giants, and even P.E.K.K.A.s straight into your King Tower, giving you that permanent defensive advantage. Coming in at number 9, we got the Ice Wizard, one of the most iconic defensive cards ever created. He's a low damage, low cost unit that slows everything he touches by 35%, which is unbelievably valuable in a control heavy meta. On Royale API, the Ice Wizard appears mostly in Splash Yard, especially Graveyard plus Bowler, plus of course the Tornado combo, and in many minor control decks. He isn't used universally, but in the decks he does appear, he's absolutely essential. The Ice Wizard enables perfect control. You slow troops. If you have the Tornado, you group them together and eliminate entire pushes for a positive trade. He's one of the safest, cleanest defensive stabilizers in the entire game. Pro tip: pair the Ice Wizard with the Tornado as much as you can. This classic combination clumps units together, slows them, and gives you full board control. The Ice Wiz plus NATO is one of the most reliable defensive combos in Clash Royale history. Coming in at number 8, we got the Lumberjack. He's one of the highest DPS 4 elixir troops in the game, and dropping the Rage on death gives your entire push a massive tempo swing. On Royale API, he shows up in Golem, Balloon, Mega Knight, and even Lava decks because he amplifies any win condition. His Evo form makes him even stronger as he stays alive longer in the Ghost form and can be taken out, which is insane if you think about it. The main reason the Lumberjack isn't top 5 on this list is that the meta right now favors control decks, but to be honest, the Lumberjack remains one of the most value-packed legendaries in the game right now. When you place him properly, he can completely change a matchup in seconds. Pro tip: place the Lumberjack behind your tank and not in front. You want him to survive as long as possible for the DPS, and once he dies, you want to maximize his rage onto your support units at the perfect timing. Coming in at number 7, we got the Log. The Log is arguably the most efficient spell ever introduced. According to Royale API, the Log is one of the top 5 most used spells in the entire game due to its versatility, pushback, chip damage, swarm clearance, and cycle value. It's also the only spell that physically knocks enemies back, which opens huge defensive opportunities when dealing with units like the Goblin Barrel, Princess, Skeleton Army, and even the Hog Rider sometimes. The Log is simply value. For 2 elixir, you consistently deny chip damage and you stabilize your cycle like none other. Pro tip: track your opponent's bait cards, and if they reveal a bait card with which can be logged. Go ahead and understand your enemy's playstyle so you can pre-log, which can be a game changer. Coming in at number 6, we got the Inferno Dragon, which is one of the most underrated cards in the entire game right now because its rampant mechanic lets it delete tanks even when it's under leveled, because its damage is person based rather than level dependent. On Royale API, we see the Inferno Dragon and Lava Hound, Brit Spam, Mega Knight, and even Balloon decks, especially in mid-ladder and even early competitive play. It forces your opponent to carry a reset spell, or they simply lose whenever a tank crosses the bridge. However, its main weakness is the reset mechanic by the E-Wiz, Zap, or the Lightning, but if your opponent lacks resets, the Inferno Dragon becomes a win condition by itself. Pro tip: place the Inferno Dragon far away from your opponent's reset cards. If their E-Wiz is on the right lane, wait until you take it out or out cycle so you can maximize the value with the Inferno Dragon. Coming in at number 5, we got the Graveyard, and honestly, after 7 years, this card has still stood the test of time. According to Royale API, Graveyard decks continue to appear in top ladder, especially the classic Splash Yard variants with the Bowler or Valkyrie Tornado and the Ice Wizard. The Graveyard is a super unique card because of its unpredictable skeleton spawn pattern, making it one of the hardest win conditions to counter perfectly. Even if your opponent has a strong counter, poor placements or slow reaction time can lose them their tower instantly. Graveyard rewards patient, defensive players who know when to counter push. It's the perfect card for players who want to defend well and then suddenly overwhelm with a big push later in the game. Pro tip: place the Graveyard slightly off center, never directly on the tower. This off center placement reduces the effectiveness of Tornado, Valkyrie, and cards like the Poison, which typically counters the Graveyard. Coming in at number 4, we got the Miner, and this shouldn't shock anyone. The Miner is one of the most flexible cards in Clash Royale history. According to Royale API, Miner decks, especially Miner Poison and Miner Rocket Control, consistently hold the highest win rates across ladder and competitive gameplay. The Miner is one of the few units in the entire game that can target anywhere, giving unmatched chip potential. Whether you're trying to pick off Musketeers, sniping Elixir Collectors, or applying constant chip damage, the Miner always provides value. The Miner thrives in the current meta because it's spell cycle friendly, low risk, and synergizes perfectly with any sort of fast cycle or control decks. Pro tip: keep switching up your Miner placements every single push. Play it at the back, play it in the front, play it on the left side, on the right side, and just be unpredictable. A predictable Miner is always a low value Miner. Coming in at number 3, we got the big boy Mega Knight. Let's be honest, nobody's shocked because the Mega Knight has one of the highest widespread usage rates in mid ladder due to his ability to shut down any sort of spam and overwhelm pushes with his massive jump splash. According to Royale API, the Mega Knight appears in several strong high ladder decks, especially Mega Knight Miner Control and Mega Knight Wallbreaker Cycle. And with the recently newly added Mega Knight Evo, he becomes even better as he uppercuts anything in his way and messes up your opponent's push, which gives him an even stronger ability to punish overcommitment. He's one of the most abused cards in mid ladder, and his counter push potential is absolutely ridiculous. Pro tip: never drop the Mega Knight at the bridge. Always drop him on top of enemy troops to activate his jump, then counter push with the support units. Coming in at number 2, we got the Lava Hound, and it's widely recognized as one of the strongest and most reliable win conditions in the game. Royale API constantly shows decks like the Lava Loon or Lava Miner inside top performing archetypes, which proves how strong it is. The Lava Hound's tankiness makes your opponent commit multiple air counters, and if they have only one, they automatically lose because there's so many ways you can outscale with Lava Hound decks. People don't really expect a lot of damage from the pups, but the Lava Hound's pups deal massive chip damage when ignored. Combined with the Balloon or Inferno Dragon, the Lava Hound pushes can demolish towers instantly. Lava Hound's strength lies in its consistency. As long as you know how to build your push and know when to take damage, you will always get value. Pro tip: always drop the Lava Hound in the back when you're up in Elixir. The Lava Hound is not a bridge unit. You need time to stack the Balloon, Phoenix, Baby Dragon, or even the Inferno Dragon to get maximum value. Finally, coming in at number 1, we got the Royal Ghost. The Royal Ghost has an invisibility mechanic that makes him untargetable until he attacks, giving him unmatched lane pressure. Royale API pretty much shows the Royal Ghost appearing in any sort of top tier decks. It can be Brit Spam, 3 Musketeers Control, P.E.K.K.A, Miner Poison, you name it. He fits into almost any archetype. Cycle, Control, Beat Down, Brit Spam, he got all of it. The recently added Royal Ghost Evo elevates him even more and significantly provides him more value in defense and offense. His ability to slip past troops and force awkward responses makes him one of the most universally viable legendary cards in the entire game. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you want to find out the 10 game-breaking things that only Clash Royale veterans know, click on this video. Bye.